Today, we hear from my friend Phil Canavan about how he's running multiple businesses through this challenging time in our world.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noop Sports Show. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Noop Sports Show. I'm your host, Ryan Newpel, here with you each and every time. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Another episode, recording this kind of around the holiday time, so all of us dealing with little colds, and you can hear my voice a little bit different, so I'm battling that a little bit of that today, but we really appreciate you tuning in for another episode. Hopefully we can bring you some value. Today, we're joined by another special guest. As you can see, we have Phil Canavan, the director of SEM Global with us. Phil, thanks for joining.
Pleasure, Ryan. Always good to catch up, mate.
Absolutely. Phil and I are recent acquaintances, recent friends. We got to hang out, what was this, last year now in Vegas at G2E, I believe, is where we got to kind of meet each other and hang out over a beverage and just catch up a little bit. So it feels like 2 years ago or something now, but I guess that was only about a year ago, right?
I think so. Yeah, I certainly missed that this year. I mean, live shows are always a great way of keeping in touch with everyone in the industry, and yeah, always good fun to share a few beers with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to hear a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background. I know you've got a lot going on in this space, and I think the listeners would just love to hear about your background. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in this crazy iGaming world.
Well, I mean, my background originally was in media. I worked in newspapers here in the UK and magazines in Australia for a few years. So I originally set up my own independent agency in that particular industry. So we were offering outsourced sales to media organizations. Through that, fell into some sports media titles we were working alongside. And from there, merged with my now long-term business partner, Ryan Horn, who was running a sports agency. So we started to work in sports sponsorship. And it was probably around the time that gaming operators started to become a big part of that, particularly in UK football. So that, pushed us towards those type of partnership deals with operators. We built some strong relationships in the space, and then, as time went by, it became almost the sole focus of the agency. And very glad that it did, because it's a fantastic industry to work in. Made some good friends, some good business associates, and hope that we can continue to be successful in the space for a number of years to come.
That's amazing. That's cool. Great experiences to get you to where you are today. So speaking a little bit about where you are today, give us a little bit of background of SEM Global. And then maybe, I know you mentioned to me offline that there's some other business happenings in the works as well. Tell us a little bit about what your companies are about today and kind of what you guys are focusing on today from a business perspective.
Okay. So, I mean, to try and keep it brief in terms of what SEM does and our primary function, we're a sponsorship consultancy. We work as a buying agency for operators. I know there's a number of bigger operations out there who are sales houses, and we work on behalf of sports teams and individuals to secure sponsorship deals. We're very much the other way around, and actually made a conscious decision to flip the business model around probably 6 or 7 years ago. So the way we would operate is to work closely with B2C businesses in the gaming space, understand what their growth objectives are, what their key markets and territories would be, and then obviously budgets being a key factor as well. Mm-hmm. We will then go to the market, do the research and due diligence to make sure that we're presenting all relevant opportunities. We'll make recommendations on strategy, where they should invest, what our forecasted ROIs would be on the different deals, and then marry the two organizations together when the deal's ready to be done. So we've worked in that way in the UK and across European sports for a number of years, and the US has obviously become a focus in more recent times, and I'm glad that it has.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because U.S. obviously being very near and dear to my heart here, living in Orlando, Florida. I follow that industry here in the U.S. very closely, and it's amazing how much growth we've seen, even through the COVID, pandemic. We've continued to kind of see growth, I think, in this space. I was curious to hear, what all you are doing in the U.S. and if that was one of your goals, as a business to kind of start working with U.S. companies and U.S. operators as well. So I think you kind of answered that. And anything to expand on kind of the U.S. market and where your goals and visions are with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first thing I'd say is it's been, since the repeal of PASPA, it's been great fun watching the expansion of gaming in the US. And I think we're all, if we take a step back to where we were 2 years ago and look at what's happening now and what's projected to happen in 2021, it's incredible the speed at which it's all coming together, and really great to see. So, one of the first outtakes is it's just been very refreshing to work in a market that's in its infancy rather than, a kind of saturated and slightly cynical market that we operate in over here. There's a lot of agencies, there's a lot of operators, and there's kind of tried and tested relationships and methods that it's kind of difficult to shift on. It's been really nice working with sports organizations who are going into gaming partnerships for the first time, and are open to suggestion, and also operators who, are happy to listen to our input and work closely with us. So, look, we've got a number of operators that we speak to regularly in the US. We're hopeful that 2021 is going to be a big year for us. And we've been consciously moving into that space since PASPA was repealed, and actually even before then. So the network's growing, and hopefully we can do some good business in the next year or two.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I painted a picture there that we've been growing and the US is still doing all well through this COVID pandemic. But let's speak a little bit about what you've seen, I guess, during 2020. I mean, everybody's had a challenging year. Everybody has had to adjust and migrate and adapt to the changing times and kind of where we're at. How have you guys seen or handled, I guess, this COVID pandemic? And have you seen a major drop in activity and action, or has it been kind of business as usual this year? And to follow up to that, are things starting to kind of pick back up as you've seen here near the end of the year? Speak a little bit about that, this crazy 2020 that you've seen from a business side.
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out, it has been a very, very strange year. When pretty much all live sports stops, then budgets and revenues for operators were hit supremely hard. I think that's even now there's a lot of uncertainty as to fans being allowed back into stadiums and how sponsorship deals would be structured. That's probably the biggest outtake for us. Contracts are never going to be the same again with any kind of deal that is dependent on football and in stadium activations. Hopefully that's not going to be forever, but it's certainly still a very, very important factor in any kind of contractual components of the deal. Look, I think there's a number of big operators who were a little more bulletproof than some of the challenger brands, which is a little bit of a shame, because some of the smaller guys then probably set back 18 months or 2 years because live sports stopped for 2-3 months, and every single day that goes by, the operators are losing huge amounts of cash that you just can't replicate out of nowhere. I think what it has done is foster innovation. It's forced people to think differently, possibly diversify in terms of where their product development lies. Obviously, from what we can tell in the US particularly, the operators who have kind of come out of it the strongest and sort of this return to live sport came with them in reasonably strong positions with those that had a solid iGaming and an online casino offering. Because the numbers on that were obviously up during the break from live sport. So it's been tough. We, as a business, as I said, operate more as buyers for our client base. So I tried to take a step back from everything really in March when COVID really took hold, because we don't ever want to be the guys who are trying to force people to spend money because it generates income for our business. We want to be consultants that work with our operators when they need us. We want to advise on what the absolute best strategy is for them in our eyes. And to be perfectly frank, when there was uncertainty flying around, we don't want to be pushing people to try and spend money.
Sure.
So, there is business happening. We've closed a deal that I can't go into any details on in the last few weeks that made sense for everyone. And it was a very slow and cautious process we went through to make sure that everyone's protected. It was a deal that's going to work for all involved. And we're excited about that. So maybe we can talk about that next year when we reconnect. But yeah, certainly a challenge, and hopefully the operators and our clients will ready to start speaking to us a little bit more positively about partnership deals in the next few months.
Yeah, well, congratulations, pre-congratulations on that deal that hopefully we can hear about in a few months. You can come back on and tell us all about that deal. It was kind of a good segue, though, into my next question. It really focuses more around the future and what else is going on and kind of what your, I guess, 2021 is looking like. I mean, what's in the future for you personally from a business side? What all plans do you guys have as far as growth, activity, and future?
Well, myself and Ryan, during the down period, we'd been speaking to a couple of other guys for a number of months about launching another consultancy more focused on the iGaming and online casino space, retail casino as well, potentially. So we had a number of calls. We spent quite a lot of time during the full lockdown earlier in the year. And we launched Creation iGaming as a consultancy for that space. Now, Ryan and I are very much sales, commercial, brand focused, and the other two guys in the business are extremely experienced on the B2B side and the technology side of the iGaming sector. So between the four of us, we felt we could offer something a little different. So we'll be hopefully facilitating the creation of some iGaming solutions between developers and sports organizations, and working towards a few deals in that space right now. Hopefully, again, we'll be able to tell you more about that in the coming months. But it's exciting. And again, as I said before, when things go bad and when times are tough, you've got to look at alternative ways of bringing money in that are relevant to the times. And as I said before, I think iGaming and online casino has flourished over the last 12 months. So it seems sensible to use our network and work with guys that we like and trust to try and find a way to help people out and do a bit of good business as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like you have your hands full. That's for sure. You're dipping your hands in many businesses. I understand the challenges that come with that. But like you said, you got to grow. You got to move on and adjust to what's going on. So, I mean, congrats on Creation iGaming. Looking forward to seeing what you guys do with that. And if I can help at all in any way, you know where to reach me. And I'm assuming there are other listeners as well that may be interested in learning more about, Creation iGaming or SEM Global, any of that. Where can they find you and your companies? What are the best channels to get a hold of or learn more about you guys?
Well, you can get the website information off my LinkedIn profile. So that's always the best way to connect. I find. I mean, certainly without the physical shows and expos over the last year, LinkedIn has been the absolute lifeblood of our connectivity and building new networks. I mean, I don't know if you found the same thing, but the lack of shows has been really tough for us smaller independent agencies. Personal relationships is what we're all about and what we build things on. So not having that interaction on a kind of bi-monthly or quarterly basis has been tough, and it kind of makes you realise what a great job the guys at ICE and Clarion and SBC do. So look forward to hopefully being able to reconnect with everyone properly and in person next year for sure.
Yeah, the virtual events, they serve their purpose, but they just aren't quite the same to, guys like yourself and me who we thrive on that personal interaction, not only from a business side, but from a sanity side, just to be able to like sit down, talk face to face with someone. I mean, this is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's just nothing like that real personal interaction that you get from an event and just the buzz around something like that, where everybody's there with kind of the common purpose, the common goals, the common, it's like a little family. Right. And so I definitely miss that personally and business wise as well, but I think it's coming back. I think 2021 is going to be a good year for a lot of that. And I hope to see, especially here in the US, where I'm really focused, I hope to see some explosion, because I think they had some momentum on those events back in 2019. There was really a lot of momentum from the first kind of wave of these events. And then it kind of died off. And I was like, man, 2020 is going to be huge. And then and I'm like, crap. So maybe 2021 will double or triple and just kind of really explode on some of those events. But you're right. Those companies do a great job hosting and really doing bringing some value through events to some of us in this industry. So I miss that for sure. Hopefully next year.
Yeah, I think once we're able to do it again, it's going to be there's going to be huge demand for attendance, and rightly so. It's a great way of educating yourself in the industry,
Sure.
like you said, getting that buzz and getting excited about the growth, particularly with the US and where it's going and the speed that the market is coming together.
Yep.
So yeah, look, hope those come back very, very soon, and we'll certainly be over in the US for a couple of events at least in 2021 if we can.
Good. Well, that's great. Well, Phil, I don't want to keep you. I know you're a busy man operating business and doing all sorts of things, and looks like getting ready to celebrate the holidays there with the Christmas tree behind you. So that's kind of amazing. It's that time of year where we all get to reflect and enjoy the holidays. So I wish you Merry Christmas, pre-Merry Christmas, and have a great holiday, Phil.
Absolutely the same to you, Ryan. Have a fantastic holidays and all the best to the family. And I hope you stay safe and well during the festive season.
For sure. Any last words for the audience? I typically ask that kind of before I let you go. Anything on your mind that we didn't really get to talk about or that you'd like to say before we depart here?
No, nothing specific. I mean, all I'd say is, we're always open to conversations. It doesn't necessarily to be for any kind of commercial agreement or arrangement. Always happy to consult and discuss with anyone who's in the industry. It's one of the great things about the gaming sector and the industry we work in is that you can meet people, have discussions openly and frankly, and help each other out. And given the year we've had, I think it's important we do that. So yeah, happy to connect with anyone and have a conversation. Look forward to next year.
All right, Phil, we really appreciate you being here. This was Phil Canavan, Director of SEM Global, owner of Creation iGaming. Thanks again for being here, Phil. Thanks for all the listeners. We appreciate you tuning in. Have a safe holiday. Stay safe out there, and we're looking forward to seeing you all as 2021 comes around. All right, Phil, have a great day.
Thanks, Ron. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noob Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noobsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.